What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about 2021 in gaming and talk about, are we going to get a lot of game delays or not? I've previously said we could probably expect a lot of gaming delays. However, this year is kind of set up in a way where maybe we won't. Maybe the way that things are being handled, and I'll talk about what I mean by that in a second. Maybe we actually won't get too many delays, but we'll go through all that in this video. As always, make sure you guys are subscribed to this channel, hit the bell icon so you guys know when all these videos go up. And if you super like my content, I do have a second channel. I upload one video a day over there, much less than over here. It's called Podcast Now Plus. I'll leave a link for it in the description below, or of course you could just look me up on YouTube. All right, now Hogwarts Legacy didn't start off very well, you know what I mean? In 2021, we go through the first week and then second week say, oh, Hogwarts Legacy's moved, okay? So that sucked. That's deflating. That I think is a kind of like a grave sign to a lot of other games. But what we have is I think it's hard to describe because I think a lot of games will be delayed this year, okay? But a lot of them we probably won't know for sure if they were delayed, because the way that the gaming industry, and to be fair and honest, the way the gaming industry has always been set up is they are pretty quiet with releases. There are studios that, I will correct myself by correcting myself. That I was right, okay? Studios, what you'll sometimes see is, yes, they'll announce games years and years and years early. There's countless examples of doing it too early, you could even say, right? But they don't give release dates. In fact, most times they don't even give release years. Kingdom Hearts, any Sony, Microsoft, sometimes Nintendo game, right? They can announce themselves 2, 3, 4, 5, probably stop after like 3 or 4 years, right? But they can announce themselves 2 or 3 years early and then not say anything, and then just kind of come back out the year after and show gameplay, and then come out the year after that and do something else. And that's kind of how it works. Even over looking at the last year or so, you see all these games getting announced, but some of them don't get release dates. Some of them get release years, but then they don't even give sections of them. There used to be a time where you saw, I think more often, them say fall, spring, holiday. Some still do, like Tetsuya Nomura, right, of Square Enix and Kingdom Hearts and all that stuff and Final Fantasy. He has said before, when he talks about Kingdom Hearts, he has oftentimes said winter, he said spring. So he kind of gives seasons to go along with it, right? And sometimes we get that, but a lot of times you don't. So I do think we're going to get a lot of games delayed. We already have Hogwarts. I still do think God of War is delayed. Horizon, I think, already has been delayed from this spring to the fall. In fact, even look at the launch of the next-gen consoles a few months ago. Halo Infinite, Ratchet & Clank, Kena Bridge of Spirits. I mean, there were a lot of games. The Medium is going to be out next week, but it was also delayed outside of Xbox's launch. So you've already seen it. I mean, there's already been right there. That's already 4, 5, 6 examples adding in Hogwarts Legacy. So you are going to see it, but again, because games aren't specific with their releases, which is probably good because you have movies, right? And movies have been hit by the thing around the world more than probably anything else, right? And they do give dates. So we know movies that are coming out 2 years from now, okay? And so when you delay a movie, well, you have to delay it, and you have to give another date, and then that date gets delayed, and it gets really annoying. Like a movie like Black Widow has been delayed 3 or so times already, and it's okay, it's really annoying. For a game, if it doesn't have a date, if it doesn't even have a month, let's say, it's easier to push it and not make people all that upset. Again, that's why I think they did with Hogwarts Legacy, where it's they probably planned October or November, and they probably knew, obviously in this January, where they're you know what? We're not going to be able to hit it. Maybe maybe February, March of next year, but we're not going to hit this year. And they know that, right? And they are an example of a studio that, again, we don't know. We know a window, but we don't know all that much. And to be fair, technically, we don't know. Technically, they didn't say anything. They just said 2021. We all assumed fall. It was going to be fall, but we assumed it. They never actually said it. And that's where the moral, not even moral, but that's where the question that kind of pops up that I always say is yeah, a game, if it's delayed internally by the developer, the game's delayed. And I know not everybody agrees with that. A lot of people say the game needs to have a release date. And if that release date is pushed, that's a delay. If they delay it internally, but they don't tell us, the game's not delayed. I mean, just saying that out loud doesn't sound right? Maybe it's just me, but that's how I think. So if a game is pushed internally by a studio, if it's delayed internally by a couple months, but they don't tell us in, online or whatever, I think that's an actual delay. And I know not everybody agrees with that. But that, for what it's worth, that, scenario that I just said, that's what I think we get this year. I think Gotham Knights is going to come out later than we thought. I think Horizon is going to come out later than we thought. And not just what we thought, but most likely what they had planned internally. But I don't know. I think because this year is, there's not a lot of games that we know. To be fair, we know select Microsoft games. I mean, Microsoft just did that blog post like a week or so ago talking about the games releasing on Xbox this year, okay? We know a big group of Sony ones. We know other ones, like March is very filled with games. April has a couple, like we know Back 4 Blood, we know Deathloop, stuff like that. Like we have a couple, but in reality, I mean, you look at the past several years, it really look at just history in general with gaming. You don't find out a lot of the games that release each month until just a few months before. So like April, May, June, we're gonna, over the next little while, we'll start to see those months filled in a little bit more, right? September, October, November, we know those months are enormously filled with games, but if you look at a calendar right now, there's 0 games releasing those 3 months. So that normally happens. That's how it works. And the thing with this year is, will games that were supposed to release in the spring fill those gaps in the fall? We'll just have to wait and see. And these things will be placed, and it'll be up to us to say, hey, were they delayed or not? And one final thing, there is a boatload. Now, a lot of them are smaller games, but there are quite a few games that missed 2020 that were supposed to come out in 2020. The thing that helps with the year following is, even if like this year starts slow, we could get a lot of those delayed games of 2020 that were just pushed like at the very end. They could fill the first half of 2021. That's normally how it works, right? Most of the games pushed at the very end of last year will probably populate the first couple months of this year, and then we'll get the rest of them later. So I do think we are in for a rough year, even though I do think things are going to get a lot better, and people will go outside, and not saying too many different kinds of words there, but I do think things are going to get better over time. With that being said, over the last year, a lot was slowed down. You know what I mean? They lost a lot of months of time. Everybody, literally every single developer under the sun lost a lot of time on their game, on pre-production, on motion capture, on some part of their game. Everybody lost at least, I would say, 2 to 3 months. And then getting back to work and figuring out how to do it from home and all that kind of stuff probably delayed it even more. So let's say maybe on average like 3 to 5 months every developer got slowed down by. So that is, just by logic, that's every single game is going to be pushed in some way, some amount of months. And now again, the thing is, will we hear about it or not? You can't delay. Now, I would say, you could argue, you can't delay a game that hasn't even been announced yet. So say like an Uncharted game, like that Sony San Diego team that I always talk about. I say, hey, could they be working on an Uncharted game? If that game was delayed like 6 months because of all this garbage that's gone on, like we would never know because the game isn't even announced yet. So what has that done? That's probably just delayed the announcement by like several months. So that's what we're seeing, I think, a lot of games that were supposed to be announced get delayed. Games that maybe were already announced, but maybe they wanted to show us stuff. Like, hey, who knows? Maybe this pushed BioShock being shown to us, like, visually. Maybe it pushed GTA being shown to us visually. Those are the kind of things. Some of those things you can't really measure. You know what I mean? So, I, in a way of positivity, okay, I look at things very short term, okay? I have long term, like, plans, like, with my life and with the channel and stuff like that. Like, I do think bigger picture, but when it comes to things like this, I try to think, like, a week, a month, like, max, like, Hitman 3 just came out. I'm excited for that. I'm excited for Little Nightmares. I know there's a lot of games in March, and really after that, I'm not thinking much like, there are games in April, May, June that I'm interested in, but not many. Very, very few. But they will be there'll be more. There'll be more over time. You just gotta have to be patient. But with that being said, I would say expect indirectly or directly, expect a lot of delays this year. With movies, it's getting flat out ridiculous. It's getting annoying. And to be honest, games have kind of not had that problem so far. We haven't been super annoyed by most games, even though they've all had to deal with the world situation. Whereas movies, we've seen them be delayed like 30 times. It's getting annoying. It's getting ridiculous. Honestly, it could hit games now because games are on different kind of, production timelines, let's say, than movies are. So let me know in the comments below, guys. What do you think? Do you think we're going to get a lot of delays this year? Do you think that maybe we won't? Maybe we won't kind of notice because of how everything is set up? Let me know. As always, make sure you guys are subscribed. Make sure you guys have the bell icon turned on so you know all these videos go up. Again, if you guys want to subscribe to my second channel, Podcast Now Plus is its name. I'll leave a link for it in the description below, or you could always just look it up on YouTube. Thank you all so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. I hope to see you all on the next video.